Every quarter, your city's infrastructure department publishes a maintenance schedule. It's a long, boring document filled with things like routine inspections, sidewalk repairs, lighting checks, and water pressure tests. Honestly, it's the kind of thing most people ignore. It's written to be forgotten, a dry record of the city's inner workings. But hidden within its pages is a story that defies explanation. It all started back in the second quarter of 2014. Tucked away among thousands of other entries, one line item appeared. It didn't draw any attention at the time. Why would it? It was brief. Just a single address for a single structure. There was no description of what the structure was. Only a classification code and a scheduled inspection window. The address itself looked perfectly normal. It followed the city's standard format. Street name, number, district, nothing unusual. The inspection was marked as completed. No issues were found. The next inspection was scheduled for 6 months later. And just like that, it became part of the city's routine. For the next few years, this mysterious entry remained on the schedule. It moved from quarter to quarter, a ghost in the municipal machine. Sometimes the inspection date would shift by a few days. Sometimes the assigned team number would change, but the address never did. It was a constant, unchanging presence in a sea of data. Then, in 2018, things started to get weird. A junior clerk was tasked with a routine audit. It was just a standard procedure, required after a big software migration. Their job was to reconcile inspection costs with actual physical locations. As they went through the list, they came across that familiar, mysterious address. They typed the address into the city's geographic database, expecting to pull up a building permit, a zoning record, or at least some kind of historical entry. But the search returned nothing. It was a digital dead end. The system acted as if the address didn't exist. At first, the clerk assumed it was a simple formatting error. These things happen all the time. Addresses get mistyped, streets get renamed, numbers get reassigned. So, they did what any diligent clerk would do. They flagged the line item for review and moved on with their day. 2 weeks later, the flag was cleared, but no comment was added to explain what had happened or what had been fixed. The inspection simply remained marked as completed. The mystery deepened, but with no one to push for answers, it was swallowed back up by the bureaucracy. By 2020, the city's maintenance schedule had been fully automated. A new system was now in charge of generating, assigning, and archiving inspections. Human review was minimal, almost non-existent, and the phantom line item continued to appear like clockwork. But now, it wasn't just a static entry. It began to accumulate data. The system automatically adjusted the inspection costs for inflation. It calculated the average duration of the inspections. It even logged minor delays, noting when heavy rain pushed back the schedule. The non-existent structure was creating a very real data trail. This brings us to mid-2021, when a supervisor finally noticed something else. While reviewing departmental spending, they saw repeated overtime payments associated with that one specific address. The amounts were small, but they were consistent, and they were always approved. This was the first real financial anomaly connected to the location. Intrigued, the supervisor decided to dig deeper. They requested the original inspection reports for the address, hoping to find some answers. But what they received wasn't a report at all. It was a placeholder document. It had the standard header and the standard footer, but the body of the document was completely blank. There was no text, no data, no description of the work performed. All it had was a confirmation stamp and a digital signature. A signature that, when checked against the employee database, no longer matched any active employee. It was a ghost signing off on work at a ghost location. At this point, the supervisor was no longer just curious. They were determined to solve this puzzle. They decided to locate the site in person. They got in their car and drove to the listed street. They drove it from one end to the other, carefully checking the building numbers. But the numbering on the street skipped over the address entirely. One building was number 210. The next was 214. The address on the schedule, number 212, simply wasn't there. There was no gap between the buildings, no vacant lot, no sealed-off entrance. The two occupied buildings were pressed right up against each other. It was as if number 212 had been erased from reality. The supervisor started asking around. They talked to the owners of the surrounding businesses. Had they ever heard of a structure at that address? Did they remember anything being there before? No one had any memory of it. They checked with the utility providers. Was there ever an active connection for water, gas, or electricity at that number? Again, nothing. The records showed a complete void. They even checked with emergency services. Had there ever been a fire, a medical call, or a police incident logged at that address? The answer, once again, was a resounding no. The address was a black hole in every official record they could find. Frustrated but undeterred, the supervisor returned to their office and updated the system notes. They detailed everything they had found. The lack of a physical location, the blank reports, the non-existent employee's signature, the overtime payments. They laid out the entire mystery for someone, anyone, to see. A few months passed. The next quarterly maintenance schedule was generated by the automated system. The supervisor opened it, scrolling down to see if their investigation had finally put an end to the phantom entry. The line item was still there. The address, the classification code, the inspection window all unchanged. But there was one difference. The detailed comment they had written, the summary of their entire investigation, was gone. It had been completely removed. The mystery wasn't just unsolved. It was being actively protected by the very system designed to maintain order. The inspections for the building that doesn't exist continue to this day. What do you think's happening here? A forgotten government secret? A glitch in the matrix that's so deep it defends itself? Or something else entirely? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more mysteries. Have you ever wondered how our cities really work? Not just the roads and the pipes, but the invisible systems that keep everything running smoothly. What if I told you that somewhere deep inside the digital heart of a city, there's a secret, a ghost in the machine that no one can explain, but everyone knows not to touch? This is a story about one such mystery. It all started in early 2023. The city department rolled out a new predictive maintenance module. Think of it as a digital fortune teller for infrastructure. Its job was to analyze historical data and predict equipment failures before they happened. Broken water main, power outage. This system was designed to see it coming and schedule a fix. It was a marvel of modern engineering, meant to make the city safer and more efficient. And for a while, it worked perfectly. Then, things got weird. Within its first week of operation, the system flagged a specific address as a statistical anomaly. It didn't say what was wrong, only that the data patterns were off, suggesting a high probability of failure. Following its programming, the system generated a recommendation. Increase the inspection frequency for this location. Seems logical, right? So, the schedule was updated automatically. What used to be a monthly check-in became bi-weekly, but the system wasn't satisfied. The anomaly persisted, so bi-weekly inspections were bumped up to weekly. With each change, the projected maintenance cost for this single address started to climb. First a little, then a lot. You might think someone would notice, but the budget increases fell within the expected variance. They were small enough to fly under the radar, approved automatically without a human ever looking twice. The machine was doing its job, and the bureaucracy was letting it happen. The first weekly inspection was assigned to a veteran technician. He got his orders, hopped in his truck, and followed the route provided by the system. As he got closer to the destination, his GPS started acting up, constantly recalculating the route. But according to the official log, he eventually arrived on site. The records showed the inspection took exactly 12 minutes. Under the notes section, there was nothing. The signature, however, was valid. When his supervisor asked him about it later, the technician's memory was hazy. He remembered the drive feeling unusually long, like he was driving in circles. He remembered pulling over and stopping his vehicle, but he couldn't recall what he was supposed to inspect. A building, a power box, a pump. He had no idea. It was a complete blank, and here's where it gets even stranger. Right after that 12-minute inspection, the predictive maintenance module suddenly stopped flagging the address as an anomaly. All the metrics stabilized. The failure probability dropped back to 0. The system seemed satisfied. It was as if whatever problem it had detected was now resolved. Case closed. Or so it seemed. But the ghost of this address began to haunt other systems. The city's digital infrastructure is a complex web where everything is connected. Once this phantom location was cemented into the schedule, other automated systems began to adjust around it. Traffic flow models started rerouting vehicles away from the area during the scheduled inspection windows, creating phantom traffic jams. Utility load forecasts began reserving electrical capacity for equipment that was never installed at a location that didn't exist. Even emergency response simulations started to account for potential incidents at this address incidents. That could never happen. The entire digital twin of the city was now built around this non-existent maintenance task. It became a load-bearing glitch. At one point, a sharp-eyed analyst noticed the discrepancy. This address didn't seem to correspond to any actual city asset. So, they tried to do the logical thing. Remove the entry from the maintenance schedule. The moment they did, chaos erupted. Dozens of seemingly unrelated systems started to fail. Forecasts for everything from public transit ridership to water consumption failed their validation checks. It was a cascading error, threatening to bring the city's entire operational planning to a halt. The system, designed to maintain order, immediately rejected the change and restored the phantom inspection. It was a digital antibody fighting off a perceived threat. Sometime after this incident, an unsigned internal memo circulated among a few key personnel. It was short and to the point. It suggested leaving the entry untouched. The memo didn't explain why. It didn't offer any theories. It just gave a single, stark directive. Don't poke the bear, or in this case, the ghost. And so, to this day, the address remains on the schedule. If you were to look at the public maintenance portal right now, you'd see it. The inspection window is open. The status is marked as in progress. No technician has confirmed arrival. No report has been filed. The system has not closed the task, and it likely never will. It's just one line item among thousands, a single entry that most people would never notice. But it's there, a silent, digital pillar holding up the complex machinery of the city. As long as that inspection remains in progress, the city's systems continue to function normally. It's as if maintaining something that cannot be found, a place that cannot be reached, is somehow essential. The schedule does not explain what is being maintained. Only that stopping would require an explanation no system seems prepared to give. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy stories that explore the strange and unexplained side of our world, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more. See you next time.